Do you believe in angels? I once died. In that unimaginable moment, my soul slipped out of my body and drifted into a place so serene it felt otherworldly. This isn't some fanciful tale. It changed my life forever, and it all began with the mysterious whispers I heard as a child. Whispers that would guide me through my darkest days and eventually lead me to a profound understanding of what lies beyond. I was born in Dublin, Ireland, into a family so poor that most of our meals were just bread and jam. We lived in a cramped, chilly house with barely enough room for everyone to sleep. Still, my parents did their best to make our home feel loving. I remember them trying to put on a brave face, even when bills piled up and the cupboards were almost empty. We wore hand-me-down clothes, and our shoes often had holes in them that we'd stuff with newspaper to keep our feet dry. One of my earliest memories is of sitting at the kitchen table, feeling a strange flutter in my stomach. Even then, I sensed I wasn't alone. These invisible companions, whom I would later understand were angels, seemed to hover around me, whispering gentle cautions about my stomach. Of course, I was too young to fully grasp their message, yet their presence was calming, as though they were shielding me from a future pain I couldn't fathom. There was a particular day I'll never forget, my first visit to my aunt's home. She served a breakfast feast: sausages, eggs, tomatoes, and toast. I recall my eyes widening at the abundance. It was the first time I truly realized just how little we had back at home. Ironically, even with all that food in front of me, I felt a tug at my stomach as if something wasn't right. But I brushed it aside, choosing instead to savor the rare, hearty meal. My troubles weren't limited to hunger. In school, I struggled profoundly with reading and writing. Doctors later diagnosed me with dyslexia, but back then, few people understood what it meant. Teachers labeled me slow or uncooperative, and I was often forced to sit at the back of the classroom, forgotten by many of my peers and adults alike. Their whispers and snide remarks cut deeply, leaving me feeling even more isolated. Angels, however, continued to appear to me with unwavering consistency. Sometimes I would sense a gentle breeze out of nowhere, or catch a soft glimmer of light in the corner of my vision. These signs always came at moments when I felt the most hopeless, right after I'd been mocked for not knowing how to read a sentence or asked to leave the classroom. It was as if they wanted to remind me, "We are here. You are not alone." Their presence offered the emotional strength I so desperately needed. There were many evenings when I cried myself to sleep, wondering why I was different, why everyone else seemed to find life so much easier. But each time, I would feel a tender, otherworldly comfort. Often I heard them say, "They do not know any better. Forgive them." It was advice I took to heart. Though I felt hurt, I also felt a strange compassion for those who ridiculed me. They truly didn't understand. As the years passed, my stomach issues became harder to ignore. Sharp pains, nausea, and a constant sense of unease plagued me. The angels' whispers persisted, growing more insistent. Eventually, their quiet urgings turned into clear directives. "Go see a doctor." Part of me was frightened. I had no idea what awaited me in that sterile hospital setting. But another part of me felt a calm, certain push to trust the guidance I'd been given. At the hospital, the doctor took one look at my scans and scheduled an emergency surgery. He explained that my large intestine was severely diseased, and portions of my small intestine were affected too. I recall lying on the operating table, heart racing but mind surprisingly calm. as if some invisible hand was holding mine. Then everything went black. At the very moment the scalpel touched my body, I felt a sudden, indescribable release. It was as though I slipped out of my physical self effortlessly, like stepping out of clothes that no longer fit. The operating room, the sounds of the beeping monitors, all of it vanished. I found myself standing in a realm of radiant light and overwhelming peace. My immediate thought was, am I dreaming? But the vividness was far beyond any dream I'd ever experienced. This place felt more real, more tangible than everyday life. I looked around and noticed a gentle, all-pervasive glow illuminating everything. There was no sense of fear or pain, only serenity. Standing not too far away was my father, looking robust and youthful, wearing his favorite fishing cap, the one he used to decorate with tiny fishing flies. I felt a rush of emotion, tears of joy and disbelief welling up. I called out, "Dad!" Though deep inside, I knew I wasn't speaking with a physical voice. He smiled at me, and I ran toward him, forgetting entirely that I was no longer in a physical body. Yet when I embraced him, I felt warmth, love, and acceptance coursing through me. In that luminous realm, I realized that each soul truly is a fragment of divine light. The boundaries that separate us on Earth, whether cultural, physical, or emotional, didn't exist there. It was as if I was finally seeing the truth. We are never alone. We are eternally connected to each other and to our Creator. No sooner had I settled into this blissful reunion than a resonant voice spoke. "Lorna, you must go back. There is still much for you to do." The voice carried both authority and a tender kindness. I instantly knew it was God. Part of me wanted to stay. I had just reunited with my father, free from all earthly burdens. How could I possibly leave? Yet the voice left no room for argument. My father, still smiling, nodded gently as if to say, "It's all right. You'll understand in time." Before I could protest, I felt a powerful force pulling me backward, as though a cosmic thread was reeling me in. Suddenly, I was no longer in that realm of light. I opened my eyes in the hospital recovery room, gasping for air. Doctors and nurses surrounded me, their expressions a mix of astonishment and relief. "You stopped breathing for 10 minutes, one doctor said, clearly shaken. "We were convinced your brain had been deprived of oxygen too long." But I knew I had experienced a miracle. Not only was I alive, but I was also filled with a sense of purpose I had never known before. From that point on, my life was marked by a new kind of clarity. My childhood encounters with angels, the warnings about my stomach, and my near-death experience had all culminated in this profound awakening. I felt a renewed determination to embrace whatever lay ahead. I returned to my modest life in Dublin. Our family was still poor, and my struggles with dyslexia persisted. But everything felt different now. I no longer questioned my worth or felt overshadowed by my limitations. Instead, I recognized these so-called weaknesses as part of my journey, each moment guided by unseen hands. Time passed, and I eventually met Joe, the love of my life. He was kind, patient, and possessed a gentle sense of humor that eased my anxieties about discussing the spiritual experiences I'd had since childhood. Before we married, I looked him in the eye and confessed, "Joe, I see angels. I've seen them for as long as I can remember." He smiled softly. "That's something I've only heard in church," he remarked, then kissed my cheek. That simple acceptance felt like another gift from heaven. We married and had 4 wonderful children, building a humble but happy life in Maynooth. Still, hardship visited our family again. Joe fell gravely ill, battling heart disease, diabetes, and multiple strokes. I watched helplessly as the man who had once carried our groceries up 3 flights of stairs could barely get out of bed. On the final night of Joe's life, I saw his guardian angel standing by the bed, radiating a compassionate glow. Although my heart ached, I knew it was time for Joe to leave this world. The moment his soul departed, the entire room seemed to fill with a gentle luminosity. Our son was doing everything he could, desperately trying to save his father, so I remained still, silently praying for a miracle I knew would not come. Losing Joe was a grief unlike any other I'd known, yet the angels reminded me that separation is never absolute. Love transcends physical distance, and I felt Joe's presence comforting us, guiding us forward. A few days after Joe passed, I heard the unmistakable voice of Archangel Michael. "It's time for you to write a book." I was stunned. "But I can barely read or write," I replied internally. "I've always struggled with words. Who would believe me?" The angel's response was a gentle assurance, as though reminding me of all the impossible things I'd already witnessed. Then, like a small miracle, a stranger showed up at my door, leaving a laptop and a printer. "This is for you," he said, then left without another word. With the help of a kind neighbor, I learned the basics of using a computer. Slowly but surely, I typed out my experiences, how angels had guided me, how I'd crossed over to heaven and returned, how each of us has a guardian angel watching over us. It was a monumental effort, and I questioned myself at every turn. Still, a deep inner voice kept urging me forward. When Angels in My Hair was finally published, I braced myself for ridicule. After all, who was I to speak about angels in heaven, especially given my limited formal education? But to my great surprise, thousands of people reached out to me, sharing their own stories of spiritual encounters, near-death experiences, and inexplicable miracles. I realized I wasn't alone. There was a whole tapestry of human experiences pointing to the same truth. We are all connected, and there is more to life than meets the eye. I firmly believe each person is accompanied by a guardian angel who loves us unconditionally, from our first breath to our last. This guardian angel doesn't need you to see them to stand beside you. All that's required is an open heart and the willingness to trust in a love greater than our own. Many fear they've lost loved ones when those dear to them pass away. But our souls do not vanish. They merely transition to another state of being. If you allow yourself to sense it, you can perceive their presence in simple moments, the unexpected smell of their favorite perfume, a sudden comforting warmth, or even a fleeting glimpse of their face in a dream. People often ask me, how should I pray? In truth, prayer is as natural as breathing. It's the quiet expression of gratitude when you see a beautiful sunrise, the whispered plea for someone's safety, or the gentle thought of love toward a friend in need. You don't need long, ornate phrases. Prayer is simply reaching out with an honest heart. I recall God's words echoing through my spirit. Many are called, few are chosen, and only a few of the chosen dare to say yes. When I agreed to share my story, I took a leap of faith. I hope you, too, will dare to open your heart to your angels. Life is never without its trials. Financial hardship, the loss of loved ones, and challenges like dyslexia can cast long shadows over our days. Yet, it's in navigating these hardships that we discover our resilience. We learn to lean on one another and on the divine presence that never abandons us. Hope is the flame that illuminates the path ahead, especially when everything else seems dark. When we nurture hope, we find that even the smallest kindness, a smile, a prayer, a helping hand, can transform someone's world. You and I each have the power to make the world a bit brighter. Sometimes all it takes is pausing to listen to the quiet whispers of angels, or noticing a subtle shift in the air around you, reminding you of a love that transcends our earthly limitations. Embrace that love. Let it guide you to forgive, to show compassion, and to spread hope. Because in choosing to love, we tap into the most beautiful part of our souls, a space where miracles happen, where angels dwell, and where we realize that, no matter our struggles, we are never truly alone. If this story resonates with you, please share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to discover more near-death experiences. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.